Hi guys, so in this video I wanted to give you a step-by-step guide of how to apply for an NHS jobs on the actual NHS jobs application form. So do have a look and stay till the end because I've got a really big tip for you on how you can use this as your CV. So come along in. In today's video I'm going to go step by step on how you apply for an NHS jobs on healthjobsuk.com. When you go on the website you'll get to this page, and on here there's different job roles. So because today I'm going to show you how to apply for nursing job, I'll click on nursing and midwifery. And then on this page, essentially, it's asking you to type in keywords. So I'm going to put in mental health nurse. You've got an occupation in mind. So do you want community service, community mental health, health visitor? So what I am going to put band 5. Because I'm assuming that you're new starters and just wanting to work in the NHS. So on here you can see there's other categories that you can apply for. So there's nursing services, bed management, cardiology, dermatology, ethics, etc. So you can go further down and put nursing service, mental health, because then that will give you a broader range. So I'm going to put that instead. Here you can put any location. So if you want to work in London, you could put London, and if there's any particular organisation you could put that in. But to broaden our search, let's not select an organisation, let's just go London and do search. Right, so on here you can see there are jobs that already come up for band 5, and they haven't given a total. But the first one, interesting, that's come up is New Zealand. We're not ready to travel to New Zealand just yet, so we'll ignore that. But then you can see there's a band 5 nurse job for North East London Foundation Trust, NELT, and they seem to have quite a few. So there's also West London, NELT again, South Bank is band 5 and 6 nurse. So because this is just to give you an example, I'm going to click on, and plus interestingly on this you can see that NELT, the salary range is between 27,000 to 32,000 plus 15% healthcare HCA, which means it is not in a London. So just be aware that when you see this, if it's 15%, it is out of London, because in London it's 20%. So maybe what's interesting is here in Broadmoor you've got a band 5 nurse, which is forensic, and that's between 37 to 43,000 pounds, and potentially because it's forensic you might get slightly bit more money, or they've already included the allowances within that. So let's click on that, because I'm just curious to see what it is. So when you click on this, what you need to look for is telling you the area of the nursing, the banding that it is, the contract's permanent, the hours of work, it's full-time, 37.5 hours per week. That's a job reference, that's more for the organisation, the employer type NHS, where you'll be based, so that site is Broadmoor, the town is Crawthorne, and the salary, which is 37,163 to 43,484 inclusive of all allowances. So that would, when I read that, I take that it includes whether that's inner, outer London waiting. And the salary period is yearly, and the closing date, really important, 30th of the 3rd. On this page there's still a bit more information. So here it tells you a bit about the trust. So they've got full range of mental health, community, physical health, children, adults, etc. And then it goes into a bit of an overview of the job. So it's telling you Broadmoor Hospital is high security. They're looking for mental health or learning disability nurse registered with the Nursing Midwifery Council as such. It's band 5, so I've said the cost again, and it's inclusive of allowances. It also includes 6,000 recruitment and retention premium, hence this is a higher cost, so that's interesting. But also it's saying that you can get up to 8,000 relocation allowance can be accessed to bring you closer to work, but there's a criteria, so you might want to ask about that. Unfortunately, they're not accepting overseas applications in this vacancy, and partly might be because Broadmoor is quite a specialist area, and people who aren't trained here might not have that speciality. But it doesn't mean that if you moved over to the UK, you couldn't train later on and get that experience. And please only apply if you hold an NMC registration or you're due to complete your programme 23-24. So that means if you're a third year student and getting close to your completion, you can apply as well. In here it gives a bit of the main duties of the role. They're asking for somebody skilled, passionate, newly qualified, or those with experience, enthusiastic, forward-thinking and emotionally resilient. And that telling a bit about what their programmes are underpinned by. A bit about the organisation and the job description, and I always talk about the person spec, etc., and what they've done here is pulled out some of those things, so like the essential criteria and qualifications, desirable degree in a healthcare, experience, knowledge and skills. So they said that the advert closes on the 30th of March. They do reserve the right to close the advert prior to the date. So just, if you're thinking of applying for jobs, get in really, really quickly because it's really helpful. It also says something around that you will have pre-employment checks, which can take up to 4 to 8 weeks after information, and this will then be transferred onto the NHS electronic staff records. Also, they're only for references. You must include email addresses for referees, which must be at a supervisory or managerial capacity covering the last 3 years of employment to date to avoid delay in your recruitment process. Saying that you don't need to be vaccinated, and they are committed to safeguarding children and young people. The important bit is, one of the things I'll always say to you is have a look at the job description and spec. It is giving a bit around the post title, so you'll be a staff nurse, accountable to a clinical nurse manager, and your key relationships will be with these people. Here it tells you about their trust values. So they have 4: togetherness, responsibility, excellence, caring. It'd be good for you to have a little read and understand what that means, and does that link in with your own values. The next bit, it tells you about the job summary, and then it's really important things that you would want to look at when you're thinking of applying for the job. I think they also help to support you in writing your person specification, because my experience is when you're being shortlisted for jobs, some of these get put into the back end of track, which is what you get marked against to enable you to be shortlisted and invited for interview. So you might want to use the headings on this side to help you draft your personal statement. Yeah, so you might put in a heading on qualifications and training, and I've got so over here it's asking for desirable qualifications. So again, if you've got a degree or diploma, you can mention that. You can also talk about if you've got mentorship in practice or any other specialist qualifications such as leadership and coaching qualification. Experience, so you, again, if you're a newly qualified nurse or you're just a student, you will say, in your last 3 years of training, either you've worked across acute, community, home treatment teams, that you've got transferable skills that link into this area of practice, or you may have been fortunate enough to have a placement in a forensic unit, so you could talk about your experience and how you use the nursing process to care for support service users, families, etc. And like I said, in the desirable bit, again, it's asking if you've had experience in forensic setting or any evidence of being an inspirational leader. So you might want to give some feedback that you've had either from other colleagues, if you're junior staff. If you're more experienced, you might talk about things within your appraisal that you've had feedback, but here you really want to talk about what experience have you got that links you to this role. And you would have noted in this top bit there's specific areas that they've asked about. Right. So then you can go into the apply online now. And like I said, this is not my real account, hence it says I'm a big deal. So I want you to think you're a big deal. All right, so here at the start of the application, I'll ask you a few questions. So the first one is, do you work in West London? You know, and then it asks some bits about your immigration status. So again, you need to answer these questions that apply to you, and then read the privacy notice and then click continue. Right. Important things on here. So again, click on there and it tells you a little bit about the job, and it's stuff that I've gone through there already. Which is always really important to reread to make sure that you know. But also, if you're not really clear, they've helpfully put some information of people you can speak to. And again, I always say to you, you do need to use the opportunities to get in touch with this person. So I'd be suggesting that you do that. And then to speed this up, I'll put through some quick information. So you start section. Your personal details open up. So on here I've put in some information. Again, it's not my correct one. And it asks if you want preferred employment, full-time, part-time, term time, agile, flexi-time working. You can add that in. Then you have to save it. Then you go down to relationships, and this asks if you know anybody or employee at the trust. I don't say this, and if it is, state what it is. The next thing it asks about, have you had any convictions? You need to be very honest here. You need to be honest across your whole application. And apparently, because I've completed the bits in that bit, I can mark it as complete. Right, so that's one thing that's completed. So application questions. So your education. So again, you need to put in so I'm going to put BSc nursing, place of study. This is just for example. So you'll need to fill all this in. Training and experience, relevant training courses, not completed. You have to say you have current UK for this post, because again, if you don't, that would automatically not get you in. And then you go down to NMC, which one you're on. So click that in, and then you put in your registration number. That's not a correct one either. When you're due for renewal and spec, it did ask for specific training, etc. in the job description, so you need to make sure that you put those in. Then you talk about your service. So important to put in because it will help to talk about your annual leave and stuff. And now you put in your employee history. You need to add in any gaps in your career here. Again, you need to ensure that your references are people from the last 3 years who are in a managerial position, and this is your supporting information where you need to put your personal statement. And this is where you go back to the job description and person spec, because it will help you to have the headlines of what you need to put in. In this section, if you slow it down, I've just put some tips in terms of how you might want to think about filling in your supporting information, or what I call your personal statement. Again, it's really important to look at the job description and the person spec. You can't go wrong if you do that. Once you've done that, just fill in the rest of the application form and have a look over it if you're not sure, just to make sure you haven't put any grammatical errors in there, and then download it. This is the big tip. Once you finish completing your application form, there is a section at the end where you can download your application form. And this is the format that you can then use to as a CV. So it's got all the headings and subtitles that you'd need to form your CV. So please do try this tip, because one, it gives you two things. You've got an application form that you can send in for NHS jobs, but also where jobs are asking for a CV, you've got all the information that covers your experience, your training, even a little bit about your personal statement, what you might want to words, but what you might want to do is summarize your key highlights in terms of your skills, knowledge and experience that you would put at the very top of your CV. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please tell me if it's been helpful, if there's different things that you do on this application form, and do have a look at other videos that they should pop up here, and I'll see you on the next one. Let's be bold and brave together.